Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today I will be filming a video on how I got into UC Berkeley. I will be sharing stats, extracurriculars, and essays. And of course I have to slip in the disclaimer that there is no perfect recipe for success for getting into a college. There's no way to guarantee that you're going to get into a university. But hopefully this video is helpful for anyone that's considering applying to UC Berkeley. And of course, if you have any questions, let me know and I'll answer them to the best of my ability. So let's get started. I'll start with a little bit of background about me. So hi, my name is Lillian. I'm a second year at UC Berkeley majoring in environmental sciences, but I'm graduating in 3 years. More on that in a different video. I'm from Seattle, more specifically Bellevue, which is a city about 15 minutes from Seattle. I went to a public high school with about 1,700 people. It was pretty highly ranked and competitive, so everyone was like applying to T20s, so the pressure was on. And I was in the gifted program, which basically just means that I was taking classes a year in advance. And finally, I was not first gen because I know that matters for some schools. Not sure if that applies to Berkeley. And yeah, I think that's everything. So I think we can get into stats now. I took the SAT, not the ACT, and I got a 1530, so 770 for reading and writing and 760 for math. I honestly can't remember from the top of my head if Berkeley takes SAT scores, but if they did, then I submitted it. Because I submitted my SAT scores to all the schools that accepted SAT scores. And then I took 12 AP exams. I took AP Psychology, AP US Government and Politics, AP English Language and Composition, AP Microeconomics, AP US History, AP English Literature and Composition, AP Macroeconomics, AP Statistics, AP World, AP Biology, AP Environmental Science, and AP Chemistry. I got a 5 in AP Psych, AP Gov, and AP Lang, and I got a 4 for everything else except a 3 in AP Chemistry. Because I'm just so bad at that subject. But I don't think that AP scores really matter for like getting into colleges. I think it's more of a helpful tool once you get in because it lets you skip certain classes or graduate early. So really important to take your AP exams seriously and not skip them because they can help you a lot down the road. And for my high school GPA, I graduated with a 3.93. It was like a 3.98 for most of high school, but second semester senior year, the senioritis just hit and I let my grades slip a little bit, but totally fine. And I don't think it affected my college decisions at all because it was second semester senior year. So I had already committed and I knew where I was going. And I think that's it for stats. Hopefully I'm not missing anything. I guess I'll do awards really quickly before extracurriculars. In 2020 I got the AP Scholar with Honor Award from the College Board, and in 2021 I got the AP Scholar with Distinction Award, also from the College Board, and I believe that's just for scoring well on AP exams. And then in 2022 I was a National Merit Scholarship finalist from the National Merit Scholarship Corporation. So that is that. And then getting into extracurriculars, first I'll talk about kind of some like outside learning opportunities that I had done. So in the summer of 2021 I took a course called Water, Health, and Sustainable Development at Harvard Summer School, and it was just a way for me to kind of experience college before going into it and learning more about sustainability in the environment because that's what I was interested in. And I ended up getting credits for that I transferred over to Berkeley. And then I also did a language study program during COVID that was hosted by essentially the Taiwanese government because I'm Taiwanese, and so it was kind of a language study program to allow Taiwanese youth that are living in overseas countries to learn more about their culture and the language. So that was cool. And then for most of high school, like, my job was working at this nonprofit called Sustainability Ambassadors. I was a project manager intern, and so I was doing a lot of things. I was helping develop marketing content and social media content. I was also helping students create passion projects for the environment and helping to host webinars, just really a big range of things. But I really enjoyed my time there. I learned a lot about the environment, definitely got me interested in the environment too. Like, it was a big reason why I chose my major, I think. And also, I would say that this was probably a big, like, I don't know how to say it, but I think it's good to have like one line of focus in your application. Like, it's good to show that you are very interested in one thing. And I think for me that definitely was the environment. And like, you'll see this later as I talk about more extracurriculars, but I had a lot of environmental extracurriculars like Sustainability Ambassadors, Eco Club, and the Harvard Summer School program that I just mentioned. And so it's kind of good to show that you have like a bigger interest in one thing over another. And so yeah, continuing, I was the president of Eco Club at my high school, and I was there for like all 4 years of high school. I think I was like a member and then treasurer and president. But yeah, I was like mainly planning and leading meetings and teaching students about environmental topics, and we worked with the YMCA to provide different opportunities for club members. And then I was an intern at the Pathway Foundation, which was an internship for civic engagement. And within that foundation, I was the project lead of the Bloodworks project, and so that project was focused on hosting blood drives, recruiting blood donors, publishing educational posts, just trying to increase blood donorship in my community. And moving on, I was the social media manager for a project called the Corona Multimedia Showcase, and essentially during COVID, a lot of people were feeling isolated, and so we created kind of a virtual showcase for people to submit art and kind of see that they weren't alone and kind of have the power of art connecting people. That sounds a little bit like sappy, but it was really cool. And then after that project was over, I was invited to be the social media manager for a nonprofit called Action for Media Education, and Action for Media Education was one of the organizations that had created the Corona Multimedia Showcase. And then I was the communications manager for someone who was running for Bellevue City Council, so helping to oversee social media content such as interviews, pamphlets, and posts. I was also a member of National Honor Society at my high school. I was also the activities coordinator of Civic Engagement Club at my high school. Civic Engagement Club was kind of an extension of that Pathway Foundation internship that I was talking about. Part of engaging in civic engagement was starting a civic engagement club at your high school. So I did that. And then I was the chief marketing officer for Hope for Home, which was a nonprofit that focused on helping to feed the homeless. And so we would host meal and donation drives, we would cook and deliver meals to homeless shelters in Seattle and like the area around Seattle. But yeah, and then as a chief marketing officer, also helping to create content for like our website and our Instagram. And then kind of more as a seasonal thing, I would volunteer sometimes with my family at Northwest Harvest. So we would package food into individual portions for low income and homeless communities. And I was the director of Solace and Solidarity for a little bit, which was where we interviewed people during the COVID-19 pandemic to see how it was impacting them. We would interview like business owners or nurses and just see, how they were affected by the pandemic. So it was a student-led journalism initiative. And then in the summer of 2020, I was part of the Girls Who Code summer immersion program. I am so bad at coding, that was definitely not for me, but it was cool to try it out. And I was able to code like a website and a personality quiz. And then I was a camp counselor in the summers of 2018 and 2019, so that's going pretty far back. But I was a camp counselor at Campfire, and I would lead youth in camp activities such as art, archery, campfire cooking, and also just helping them develop different life skills. That was really special to me because I spent my childhood summers going to Campfire, so being able to be a counselor and kind of be on the opposite end of that was really cool. And then one last extracurricular was volleyball. I played high school volleyball and club volleyball, and I just loved volleyball, so like it was awesome for me. But I also think that in terms of college applications, it is helpful because it shows that you're more of a well-rounded applicant. You're not just only doing hardcore academic extracurriculars, but that you're also doing, some stuff that's more fun and stuff that you really enjoy doing. I think that was everything. Something I don't remember if I included, because I'm looking at my old resume right now, but I also was a student at a Chinese language school, and I spent like every Saturday there from when I was really young to when I was probably 16 or 17. So that was a big part of my life. We would of course learn like the Chinese language, but we would also compete in competitions throughout the year where we would recite poetry or do calligraphy, different things like that. And that is actually what I touch on in my first essay, so I'm gonna get to that in a second. So moving over to the essays, I wrote 4 essays for UC Berkeley, and I'm not sure if they've changed them since then or if they're still the same essays, but Essay 1 was describe an example of your leadership experience in which you have positively influenced others, helped resolve disputes, or contributed to group efforts over time. 350 words. So I talked about kind of how I would help lead younger students at my Chinese school, especially when we were preparing for the competitions that I was just explaining. And so I gave like a very specific example. I said, we were preparing for the annual winter competition hosted by the Northwestern Association of Chinese Language Schools, and there was still a lot to do. And now my classmates and I were really hard at work preparing, and I talked about seeing a lot of younger students kind of bombarding my teacher, asking for help, and so I went over and I helped calm them down, helped them get what they needed. So that was kind of like the story part of it. And then the second part of the essay was kind of reflecting on my experience there. So I said, I am grateful for the 12 years I spent participating in competitions through my Chinese school. As one of the oldest members, I facilitated teamwork and open conversation between other students. And I also talked about, giving encouragement to the team. And I concluded my essay by saying, this experience helped me develop essential teamwork and communication skills. Through supporting others and growing their performance and language abilities, I have learned how to ensure that everyone feels heard and valued. So this is something really important for college essays. Of course, the story part in the beginning is important, but what I think really matters is what you take away from it and just kind of how you reflect on the experience and how that's making you a better person. Like how has that changed you as a person? So that was my first essay. For my second one, it was think about an academic subject that inspires you. Describe how you have furthered this interest inside and or outside of the classroom. What have you done to make your school or your community a better place? 350 words. So I started my essay by saying, to call my freshman year of high school formative would be an understatement. It was then that I discovered my passion for environmentalism, which blossomed from my involvement in Eco Club. The club revealed to me the troubling lack of sustainable systems in society. I enjoyed participating in conversations about climate equity, writing letters to policymakers to advocate for environmental legislation, and learning about aquaponics. My love for the environment quickly became the driving force in my life. And so then I continued to talk about taking the course at Harvard Summer School, which was Water, Health, and Sustainable Development. I talked about how cool it was to meet all these different people from all over, people who are interning at a biology lab or conducting environmental impact assessments, around the world. Just really cool people that I wouldn't have had the chance to meet if not for this course. And then I talked about how by the end of the course, I'd written a paper on hydropower in China, and just saying, how it was such a cool summer of learning, and that there was a lot that I hadn't known before then. So then I finished the essay by saying, the fall after Harvard Summer School, I sat down to outline the curriculum for Eco Club for the following school year. And I talk about how I realized that the curriculum was missing a lot of things, such as climate justice, environmental policy, and renewable energy. And I said that I knew I had to add them so students would acquire a more comprehensive understanding of the environment. Doing so would foster growth in my community to address the urgent need for climate change solutions. So again, that reflection part kind of talking about how after taking this course, I realized that we were missing a lot of important things that we should have been teaching students in Eco Club. And so adding that in and improving curriculum for students so that they were getting a more well-rounded experience, if that makes sense. And then going on to the third essay, it was, what have you done to make your school or your community a better place? 350 words. I talked about Hope for Home, which was the nonprofit that was focused on feeding the homeless. And so I talked about kind of how, I started the essay with the story part, and I was talking about a time that I was cooking with my teammates, and we were a small team, so we were tired, and then one of my teammates reminded me, she gave me the thumbs up, and she reminded me that we had to keep pushing. And then I talked about how after many hours we finished cooking, we loaded the food into the car, and then we drove to downtown Seattle and delivered the food to a shelter. And how after we donated the food, we felt really fulfilled, and that it felt like all that time spent cooking and asking the community for ingredient donations, that it was all worth it. And then I concluded in the last paragraph by talking about the overall impact we had, how we generated over 2,000 donated goods and 600 meals for homeless shelters. And I said, I witnessed how simple acts of kindness can elicit the warmest smiles and prayers. A contribution as small as a boiled egg or bottle of water could give someone the strength to persevere. Lifting others in my community brings me immense joy. I am excited to continue my commitment to service and civic engagement in the next chapter of my life. So, letting them know that these extracurriculars that I was participating in high school, it wasn't just stopping there, that they were making me, how it changed me as a person, but also that I would want to continue giving back in college and just for the rest of my life. And finally, for essay 4, the prompt was, beyond what has already been shared in your application, what do you believe makes you stand out as a strong candidate for admissions to the University of California? 350 words. So I talked about how my family members hail from Japan, Taiwan, China, the Philippines, and the United States. So I have a pretty diverse family. And I talked about how now most of them live together in Thailand. And whenever I visited, I thought it was really fascinating how our family and our culture and our homes were filled with so many different fusions, especially culinary fusions. So I talked about how we cooked with the best of several worlds. We would speak in many different languages, and that the words, even though they were different, they felt like they fit kind of like puzzle pieces together. And it was pretty cool to be able to be in the middle of that and be a part of this big melting pot of cultures. And then I said, I recognized early on how fortunate I am to be part of such a large and diverse family. But I wondered how I fit in. I was one of the only children born and raised in the United States out of 14, and my English and Mandarin language abilities seemed pretty drab in comparison to those of my cousins. But as I grew older, I started to see how my American identity fit into my family. I would help my cousins. They would like video chat me, and I would help them write their school essays. I would teach my family members different popular jokes and sayings in English, and I would also introduce like American snacks to them. And I just found a unique way to add to the rich melting pot of my family. And so I concluded by saying, with my extensive knowledge of cultures and belief systems, I bring to the table a unique lens. My time spent with my loved ones has taught me to see situations from multiple perspectives and appreciate the strength in differences. Welcoming diversity in thinking is a beautiful way to form connections and promote growth. My experience also keeps me on my toes, as I never know when I will have the chance to solve another riddle of languages. So that's how I concluded my fourth essay. And yeah, I don't know, I think kind of just what I'm thinking as I'm looking back on these is you don't need like super exciting, crazy stories, but it is really super important to tie it back to yourself and, you know, how it has changed you as a person, and just kind of show like what kind of person you are, you know. So yeah, I think that's everything. Hopefully I'm not missing anything, but let me know if there's anything else that you want to know. And yeah, I guess that's it. So thanks so much for watching. Good luck with college applications if you're working on them right now, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.